for $59 after, 16 years is really good. I mean, you think about like there's some doctors and nurse practitioners and, other high paying fields that, you have to work your way up to the same way. And we don't have to go to school to do that. You have to know like how to do your job because you're going to be working with people that have been there 40, 50 years and they're not going to be easy on you sometimes. So you have to be ready to like go and know what you're doing. It's crazy that people just don't leave. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so hard. Once you get this job, it's really hard to leave. Flexibility is huge. And we have one of the best like contracts in the industry when it comes to unions. So we're like able to be home every night, or we could not work as much as we want or work more than we want, whatever we want. You know what I mean? Pretty much. When you're on the outside, when you're a passenger, you just see them serving. That's all. You see them serving, you see them do a little bit of a demo, you know what I mean? Like a safety demo. But when you go through training, oh my God, it's like so much. I mean, so much safety. And like learning about aircrafts and learning about, how to put on a life jacket, how to, swim with the life jacket, how to swim and save somebody with the life jacket on. I mean, there's all kinds of things that go into it that I did not expect. And I just assumed like, you just have to have some kind of service background, you know what I mean? Or, bartending or waitressing or something like that. But no, it's way more than that.
Michael, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. Awesome.
Nice to see you.
Yeah. So tomorrow will be 4 years with Alaska as a flight attendant.
Yeah.
What's it like?
It's pretty amazing. Like, it's the best job in the world.
It's intense.
Yeah.
In a good way.
In a good way. There's times that are pretty intense.
And time flies, I hear.
Oh yeah, big time.
In the airline industry. That's
awesome. Yeah,
because
you're always like one month ahead of everybody else because you have to bid for the next month. So.
That's crazy. Most people say that.
Yeah.
That's the reason. So cool. So let's go to the beginning. We don't have a lot of time. We'll walk through as much as we can. Looking to provide as much information to people who maybe want to become flight attendants out there. At what point in your life did you want to become a flight attendant?
So a couple, like I would say about 5 years ago, like I was doing massage at the airport, SeaTac Airport. So I was like doing like 6-7 days a week, and I was like, my body's hurting, my neck is hurting, because I've been doing it for like 10-12 years now already.
So 12 years you're at the airport.
At the airport doing chair massage, yeah.
And you're watching flight attendants walk by with their bags.
Watching flight attendants, I'm like, oh, that's cool, and she's pretty hot. And I was like, I was just like watching them, and I massaged tons of flight attendants, tons of pilots, and I never gave it any thought. And then all of a sudden, one day, I was massaging a flight attendant, and in 30 minutes, during the whole massage, just talking. She's like, oh my God, Michael, you'd be so great at flight attendant. You should come apply. We're hiring like crazy. I was like, all right, I'll do it. So that's what got me inspired, because I had no idea that you could be a straight male flight attendant.
You're not the first one on that chair who said those words. I'm just saying.
No, it's true.
It's amazing how people don't know.
Yeah, it's so weird, because every guy that I met that was a flight attendant was either gay or I didn't know. And then all of a sudden I found out that you don't have to be gay to be a flight attendant. So then I started meeting all these straight guys that are flight attendants. I was like, okay, it's true. You don't have to be gay.
That's completely true. And I wish people out there knew more of that.
Well, because it was like this, misconception that I, like, for some reason, didn't think, like, because it's a female-dominated career for the most part.
Absolutely.
So I just assumed, and a lot, like other people assume, that, you have to be a certain way to fit in, and that's not true.
That's crazy. So she talks you into it, obviously. Yeah. You apply online. And then what happens if you want to walk through that?
So first of all, I had to redo my resume, because I haven't done my resume in like 10 years. Right. So I redid my resume, and then I emailed it off to Alaska Airlines, and then got an email back saying, hey, we want to do a phone interview. So we did the phone interview, and the guy was like really awesome, and he was, maybe go about this way or say this, or he was like kind of coaching me, like, yeah, on the phone. I was like, okay, that's cool. He's like, yeah, also we want to offer you a time to go to the physical interview. I was like, oh yeah, sure, that'd be awesome. He's like, well, we have one next week in LA, or you can wait till Seattle in 2 weeks. I was like, I'll wait till Seattle.
Seattle
Yeah, I don't want to fly all the way down to LA.
Right. Okay.
So 2 weeks later, I go to the physical interview, and it was probably about 125 people there, at least 125.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's probably about 20 guys. And there's another Michael too, with a nice watch, just like me. I was like, oh crap. Because before the interview, I went around to different flight attendants. I was like, hey, so give me some pointers, give me some, some tips, some tricks.
Right. So
like always wear a watch to the interview, and always smile, and always be thinking happy thoughts.
Now, let me ask you this, just because I'm curious. Because again, I bought these chairs to spread information with people who don't know flight attendants.
Yeah.
Or anyone doing anything. Did you know flight attendants prior to becoming one, other than that girl you massaged at the airport?
I did know one, but I didn't. Like I said, he was gay.
Gotcha.
And I didn't really pick his brain or anything like that.
Got it.
And I had actually probably not talked to him for at least a couple of years before I got the job.
So you weren't really in a situation where you could pick their brain.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I just had to do it on my own time, and make my own effort to go talk to them.
Got it.
So that I go to the physical interview, and it was 12 hours of just back and forth, and the longest interview I've ever been through, and it's pretty intense. And everybody's you go through one session, and there's all these people, and then you break up into small groups, then you go to another little session, and you do all these exercises, and then they do one-on-one interviews with the HR, with another flight attendant, and it's just really exhausting. And then you try to squeeze in some time to eat there, in that 12 hours, and then you're seeing people walk out the door, and you're like, oh, sad, because you're so awesome. So, and then of course when you get to the final, I think there's 8 of us left in the room, or 10 of us left in the room.
Wow. And
they called each one of us out to let us know, hey, you got the job or you didn't. Well, they called 4 people out already, and we're like, okay.
There's 6 of us. You're still in there with 6 more.
Yeah, 6 more, yeah. So there's 6 of us total in there. So they already called 4 people out, and the 4 people that they called out were really sweet, really nice. One of them had the same last name as me, Martinez. I was like, oh yeah, my cousin.
Did they have a nice watch?
She had a nice watch, yeah. Okay. So anyways, and out of the 6 people that were left, there's 4 guys and 2 girls.
Okay.
So then they come back in the room, and after they let the 4th person go, they come back in the room and they're like, hey guys, so we got some good news, some bad news. The people that just left were the ones that didn't make the cut, and you guys made it. And we're like, oh my God. So everybody's all happy and jump up and give each other hugs, and so exhausting.
And you made it. It was 12 hours.
12 hours.
And that day, you knew
from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. Yeah. But yeah, I knew that day. And then they said, all right, here's your packet, and then this is what you do. These are the next steps. Get your passport, get your drug testing, blah, blah, all that good stuff. So you have to do all that, background check, before you can even actually start training. So. Wow.
And then you show up. I just want to go quickly through this. I want to talk about the actual job. So you show up to training, 5 weeks?
5 weeks of training. Yeah, it's pretty intense every day. Pretty much every day, because even on the weekends you have to do service flights.
Oh.
So, and you're living in this hotel room with another person, and hopefully you get along with him, which I did. He's my best friend now, one of my best friends.
Wow.
So I actually went to his wedding, and so it's just you get so close with these people because you're with them for 5 weeks, and it's just an amazing experience. And you go through different areas of safety, service, and how to become a flight attendant, and the best flight attendant, because we do have some of the best flight attendants at Alaska Airlines compared to United or any other.
Absolutely. So is it true that they spend 0 or close to 0 time on service?
2 days.
2 days out of 5
weeks. I think, right? It's 2-3 days maybe, I think. Yeah, I forgot. It's been a while.
Would you say that is something for someone to be concerned about, or will you just learn service once you get going?
No, well, that's the service flights on the weekends. So that's eat that up. Just ask as many questions to the flight attendants, help out as much as you can. Don't just sit on your butt. You know what I mean? Don't just sit back and not do anything. You got to be a go-getter and make sure you know how to do everything, because when you do come on the line, when you start flying, you have to know the services minimum. Minimum, but you have to know how to do your job, because you're going to be working with people that have been there 40, 50 years, and they're not going to be easy on you sometimes.
Right.
So you have to be ready to go and know what you're doing. So
fascinating.
Because I've worked with some new people that were like, how do I set this card again? What do I do? I'm like, okay, did you just come out of training?
So you've done service flights on the
weekend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's and I've heard of people, excuse me, sorry, coffee. I've heard of people that had newbies that were in training flights that just sat there on their phones, or they did this, or
so
they weren't really.
They viewed that as, oh, I have to be here.
Yes,
instead of taking advantage
exactly. Instead of taking advantage of it and making the best of your time, and like learning everything, and which is what I did. You know, I mean, you got to ask questions. Okay, how do I do this? You know, where do I go? You know, how do you set up the cart? You know, how do you, just like get everybody's ideas, because everybody has different ideas of doing it. Some people set it up totally different. Some people do first class totally different. So it's like you got to find out what works for them, and then what will work for you.
And you could really only do that by talking to people.
Yes, and in service flights. So that's why those are key when they go put you through training, that you have to do the service flights every weekend. So you do, is it one? Yeah, it's one a weekend. So you have 1 day off a week out of
7 days.
5.5 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, you have 1 day off every week. That's it. So it's pretty intense.
It's intense. But you get through it, you look back, you laugh at it.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. So let's talk about airline cultures real quick. I know that's something that, at least for me, prior to getting into the airline industry, I knew nothing. As a passenger, you don't know nothing about the culture as to working for an airline.
Yeah.
You just know like prices and seat leg room and things like that. But there's massive differences in airline cultures from the employee's perspective, which is not a bad thing. It's just a reality. Yeah. I'm assuming you were living in Seattle, which is why you got on with Alaska. Yeah, and someone told you to get on with Alaska, the one you were massaging.
Yeah, it was the one I was massaging. So I actually, previous to this, I was a massage therapist, and then when I was massaging her, I massaged Horizon flight attendants, Southwest, United. And the Alaska flight attendant was just there's something different about her, and the way she was like, the way we were like hitting it off, and we just connected. I was like, all right, this is it. I got to go with Alaska. Because Horizon, I actually talked to a couple of Horizon flight attendants after. I said, oh, I'm going to apply for Alaska. They're like, yeah, that's a good choice.
Interesting.
Yeah, don't go for Horizon. I'm like, okay. They're like, we're actually trying to get over to Alaska too as well. So
it's a good place. But let's talk a little bit as far as just you being part of the airline industry. Yeah. What are some things for someone out there to consider? Say they're living in Phoenix. And they're going to commute anyway. Yeah. They're either commuting north, south, east, or west, but they're going to commute. What are some things you only learned once becoming part of the industry that maybe a new recruit flight attendant for any airline would consider as in terms of airline cultures and differences? What are some things someone might want to look into prior to getting on with an airline?
So I would say definitely how compassionate the company is when it comes to giving. I mean, Alaska Airlines gives a lot of their time, volunteer, money. They sponsor a ton of events, especially in Seattle area. And then also the culture of the flight attendants, what kind of things do they do for the flight attendants? Like they put on those socials for us. Every month they have a base social. So what they'll do is they'll send out a mass email to everybody and say, hey guys, we're having this month we're doing the Mariners game. Oh. So sign up for it, and it's complimentary. So we all get to go for free, and they give us drinks, food. It's pretty awesome. And then I've done laser tag. I've done electric boat ride in Seattle. I've done the mystery dinner.
So you take advantage of the...
Oh yeah, you got to take advantage. You got to get out there and meet people, because especially with me, I work a lot. So it's that's part of my social, getting out. Because... if you're working a lot, a lot of times when you're home, you just want to be home because you're gone so much. I'm gone for sometimes 10 days, continuously. So it's when I'm home, I just want to be home in my bed, or I just want to be home relaxing, work out. I don't want to go out and do stuff. So it kind of forces you to go out and do stuff with like-minded people. So that's definitely a positive for one of the culture things. I'm not sure about the other airlines, but that's definitely something to look into. And then also safety first. We have some of the highest safety, ratings. And when it comes to on-time performance too, you want to be home to your kids. If you have kids, say you're commuting from Phoenix, you want to be home for your kids that night. Well, you want to make sure your aircraft is going to get home too on time. So a lot of these airlines, some of the smaller ones, they have tons of delays, tons of mechanicals, because they're using old planes. And, or they have other kind of instances happen where they get stranded or something like that. Even my fiance, Brittany, she worked for a regional airline, and she would get stranded all the time, have delays all the time. So could you imagine have a family?
That's
what I mean? So that's something to think about too. If you have a family, you want to be home. So there's, and some airlines, they require you to be gone for 5 days. They have 5-day trips, 6-day trips. Some of these other airlines have 2-week trips. So
that's another huge thing to consider.
Yeah. So with Alaska, the most they could schedule you for is a 4-day trip. So there's that. So you know you're going to be home, or you're going to be, you know what I mean? And also you could somehow down trade. If you know how to work the system, you could down trade to like a turn.
Oh.
So you could be home that night. So there's all kinds of things you could do. And that's another thing is flexibility is huge. And we have one of the best like contracts in the industry when it comes to unions. So we're like able to be home every night, or we could not work as much as we want or work more than we want, whatever we want. You know what I mean? Pretty much.
So other than the social events that the airline might put on or not, it sounds like the contract is something someone should look into prior to getting on with an airline.
Well, and then some airlines don't have contracts or don't have unions. So that's another thing to look into too. So if you're wanting to work for an airline, if you want to be somewhat protected, because they can do, if they don't have a contract or a union, they could pretty much do whatever they want with you. You're at the whim of the management, you know, of company. So they can give you raises, they can take it away, they can make you work this, make you work that, make you work longer days if you want to, you know, and not pay you extra. So like with us, we're scheduled no more than 10.5 hours unless we waive it. So if we go over that, like by delays or stranded or whatever, they give us all this extra money. So, which is really good. But most airlines don't get that.
Interesting. So that's a small pointer for someone to maybe consider.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Gotcha. Let's talk about reserve versus line. And I know reserve versus line, how that plays into someone's life changes from airline to airline. There's what's called rotating reserve at some airlines where every month for years, someone might be on reserve for a few days. Yeah. But at Alaska, you start out on reserve until you're off it, and then hopefully you're off it for life, assuming the airline continues to hire.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's talk a little bit. How would you explain the whole reserve versus line thing to someone out there who's never heard these terms?
So reserve is where you go. I never heard it either before.
Same here.
So this is my very first time being in the airline industry. So coming onto the airline industry, I'm like, what is this reserve? So I had to ask a lot of questions and learn. So
today you're actually an expert in the sense that you take care of actually people.
I try to, I do the best I can.
We can talk about that if you'd like.
Yeah. So when it comes to reserve, so you go on call, either they have AM reserve or PM reserve here at Alaska Airlines. So you either do AM from midnight.
So reserve is on call.
Yeah, it's on call. So you're on a block of days. So you can either be like 4 days, 3 days, 5 days, 6 days. The most you can be on call is 6 days. And the most you can have 1 day off and then 6 days on, 1 day off, 6 days on. Or you could do 4 on, 3 off, 4 on, 3 off. But in a whole month, a month of 30 days, you get 12 reserve days. Month of 31, you get, it's been a while. 18 days.
Michael's holding a line.
18 days. I know, I've been holding a line for a while. So 18 days and a 30-day period, you get 12 days off. And a 31-day period, you get 13 days off.
Gotcha.
So you're on call for 18 days. So what that means is you could break that up, like I told you. And so you're on call from either 12 midnight till 2 p.m., or you're on call from 10 p.m. until midnight.
10 a.m. to midnight.
10 a.m. to midnight, and that's PM reserve, okay?
Got it.
So, and then, like I said, it all depends on what your schedule is at home. So, like, say you have kids, or if you're commuting, you might want to be a PM reserve. So you can come in that day, hang out at the airport, wait till you get called out, or go to your crash pad or whatever. And if you have AM reserve, then you start that night at midnight. So you want to be the day before. Rested and in your base, where you're based at. Because you do not want to have any kind of instances happen, especially in the first 6 months because you're on probation.
Let's talk about probation. What's probation?
So probation is where the flight attendant is not protected by the union for 6 months. Even though you're paying union dues, you're not protected. Because it's like just to kind of see how you do with the job, make sure you're a right fit for the company, a right fit for the job. And then if you're not, then they can let you go at will.
So it's a period of time when you first get on with the airline, at least Alaska, I can't speak for anyone else, where it's the airline's checking you out and you're checking them out.
Oh yeah, you're checking them out, they're checking you out, but they're checking you out and watching you like a hawk.
Got it.
And then you got to be careful because the people you work with too, because you don't want to piss anybody off. And then, you piss off too many people, then it's going to get back to management. And so you got to kind of not like do as what they say, but you got to kind of go with the flow and just kind of be a great person and listen and not be too bossy.
Hopefully someone stays the same person from day one to 30 years in.
No, yeah, totally. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's the thing is like some people, like you could tell like, oh, they're off probation now. So now they're acting kind of crazy. But you know what I mean? Some people, and even the same thing with the interview. You're like, how'd they get past the interview process? How'd they hire this person? But everybody, there's people that fall through the cracks. I mean, in every company, every corporation, there's some bad ones or some not so good ones. But so probation is pretty much just a way to kind of weed out.
So it's just another layer
of like getting the right flight attendants, that are going to be here for a long time, that make the company a great company.
And Alaska does a phenomenal job with that.
Oh my God, yeah.
We're talking about people falling through the cracks, majority of people.
Oh yeah, I just flew with like not too long ago someone that's been here 50 years, and she is amazing.
50 years?
Yeah, 50 years. Like how you don't hear that. Like I've heard of some other people, like when I'm talking to people on the airplane, oh yeah, I just retired for 40 years with the Air Force or something like that. Or I'm like, 40 years, that's a long time. But we've had flight attendants that have been here 50 years and they're still not retired. Wow. You know, so it's crazy that like people just don't leave. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so hard. Once you get this job, it's really hard to leave.
Wow. Because it's just such a great gig.
Oh my God, it's such a great gig. You know what I mean? The flexibility, the pay is pretty good. You know, like, you know, I mean, you can make more money or you can make less money, but you know,
that's awesome. And I do want to get to pay, but before that, let's talk about trips and turns and what could one expect in terms of, like, we're talking about being home at night with your kids, or if you're a mom definitely. Or whatever. How does that work? What are the options? Meaning, what does the buffet look like for someone to expect in terms of
like trips? What kind of stuff they have to offer? So when you're a reserve, you're screwed, to be honest. Like, you get what you get.
Whatever they give you.
And you don't throw a fit. You know what I mean? You get what you get. So you can get really sweet trips, like especially if you're AM reserve, they get some really good trips because like these, you know, senior mamas, hopefully I could say that on camera.
Senior mama? That's politically correct.
Do you know what a senior mama is?
What's a senior mama?
So senior mamas that's been probably, I would say at least 25 plus years, maybe
What's
30
wrong with
plus.
saying that?
No, there's nothing wrong with that.
Plus, this
I'm a senior papa
plus
now,
this is
sometimes.
Plus, this is not a politically correct show.
Okay,
so you're
great.
good.
Okay, I'm good. So some of these senior mamas, they call at the last minute. They're like, oh, I'm not feeling good. So then you get this like 2-day Maui. That's like a really good trip, you know? It's worth like 16. You go Seattle, Sacramento, Maui, and then you lay over for 20 something hours and you go back the same way. It's worth a lot. Like
so
a lot.
That's a nice one.
Oh, that's a nice one. But it's really hard to get those if you're a line holder. It's really, unless you have stock, you have to stock the trip board. That's what they call it.
Right.
So when it comes to trips, there's all kinds. There's like, you know, turns, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. And then you could do other stuff to add to that if you wanted to. You have to really read the contract to kind of know how to play with the system. And then with the turns, they range from anywhere from starting at 4 a.m. and getting back at 11 or 12. And they have trips that start at 5 and get back at 4 or 5. That for turns.
Right.
So you can kind of work your schedule around that once you get a line and once you start having some seniority, you can kind of, you know, move and shift some things around. And then they have these things called 4K turns with Alaska, where you have to waive your 10.5 hours and then you can fly like to Detroit and back.
Oh.
And those are worth really a lot of money, like 10.4 like trips.
So a 4K turn would be a big fat turn.
It'd be a big fat turn. There's that one and Nashville and Houston. Those are like the big turns.
Huh.
So those are like really senior. Like those go like 40 plus years, you know, 30 plus years, because they like to get all their time in and they'd be home at night with their, you know, their husband or grandkids, you know.
Yeah. So you mentioned seniority. Where does seniority fit in the airline industry? Because I hear seniority a lot. How important is it, and is it like everything in the industry?
Pretty much, yeah. Like the people don't quit because of seniority.
So the longer you've been there,
they'll be miserable at 25 years because they don't want to quit because of seniority. Like that's how important it is. Not only because of vacation, because you get to bid your vacation based on seniority, bid your schedule based on seniority. Everything's based on seniority. You can like take a leave of absence and still keep your seniority.
Everything's seniority.
Everything's seniority. It's crazy. I never experienced anything like it. Like, and then, you know, sometimes you'll walk on an aircraft and, you know, it's like this high time turn, like a Houston or Nashville. And they're like, how'd you get this? Oh, I don't know. My friend gave it to me, you know, because they're like all 40 plus years because they put in their seniority. They put in the work. So they get all these really good trips and sweet trips that are worth a lot of money. And when they see someone that's only been here 4 years, like, how'd you get this, you know?
Like, how does it make sense that you're even here?
Yes, it blows their mind. And then they actually like me because I'm a nice guy. So they're like, oh, you're a great guy. We'll fly with you anytime.
Oh my God.
So, and, you know, when I see them on the, you know, walking through the terminal, they give me hugs and stuff like that. So
that's awesome.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. But seniority is everything.
It's
everything. You know what I mean? It's crazy. But because then you get pay raises based on your seniority too. So the more years you've been here, the more money you make too. So they do cap out at 16 years.
Right. So let's talk about pay. So we don't have to hit hard numbers, but how does the system work? What's it designed? The pay scale? How long could someone expect to reach the top from the day they start? How does that work?
So it does take 16 years to get to the top of pay. which some companies do have a little bit lower. I know Southwest, I think, is 12 years or 13, and I think Delta is like 12 or 13. So maybe one day Alaska will drop it down to 12 or 13, but right now it's 16 years, which is still pretty generous. I mean, because to be here after 16 years, you're making, at the moment, we'll be making 59 something a TFP, which is really good. So
a TFP is like an hour.
Yes, yeah, it's like a block hour. They call it block hours, hours. So, or nautical hours based on how much you fly. So that's for $59 after 16 years is really good. I mean, you think about like there's some doctors and nurse practitioners and other high paying fields that you have to work your way up to the same way, and we don't have to go to school to do that. So we don't have a bunch of student loan debt to pay off like these doctors or nurse practitioners or other high-paying professions like software engineers, because after a certain amount of time, I can make almost as much money as a software engineer, and they have like how many years of schooling?
Interesting.
And I don't.
Interesting. So you don't need a college degree for this job?
No, you don't, yeah.
Just like customer service experience?
Exactly. Customer service experience, I think at least 3 years. I think. I have to go back and look. So you have to have at least 3 years of customer service experience and just be knowledgeable of the company. That's one of the key takeaways too, is like I learned about the company before I applied to, like, okay, what are their core values, all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, and there's so much people. I mean, that you'll never know what you know today 4 years in when you're first starting, but there's a lot to know. There's a lot to learn.
Oh my God, so much.
And to look into.
Yeah, And then one thing also when it comes to pay, also the more years you've been here, the more vacation you get too. So I know for me, I've been here 4 years, so I get 2 weeks right now. And then next year, when I hit my 5 years, I'll get a pretty good pay bump, but I also get an extra week of vacation.
Oh.
Yeah, so I get 3 weeks. And then it just gets better and better. You cap out at 5 weeks at 16 years, or 16, 17 years, you cap out at 5 weeks. And then once you get to 25 years, they have this thing called longevity, where if you work a certain amount of hours in a year, which is pretty easy to do, you get an extra week of vacation. So you get 6 weeks of vacation. It's like, here's an extra couple $1,000 just for working. It's so awesome. I love it.
Oh my God.
And then we get bonuses too. So, dude, it's pretty awesome. It's the best job ever.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Cool. So we talked about trips. So it sounds like there could be a 1, 2, 3, or 4 day trip.
Yeah.
And a 1 day trip is like a turn. No hotel.
Just a turn. So no hotel. So you leave and you come back the same day. 2 days is you usually go to a hotel for like anywhere between 10 hours to 25 hours. And then 3 day trips, usually, obviously, you have a 2 days in a hotel. Unless you get like a 3 day, they have all-nighters, which some people actually really like doing and some people don't. So an all-nighter is something like you leave at like 10 o'clock at night, and you get into, say, Newark at 7 o'clock in the morning.
And are you working a red eye tonight?
No, not tonight. No. I get into JFK like around 10 o'clock tonight, 10:30.
Cool. So here's something I usually do when I talk to flight attendants. Break down your next trip. To explain it, like what does your next trip look like in a real way, so people could say, "Oh, that's what a trip looks like."
Well, this is a pretty sweet trip. Okay. I'm just telling you. Now, if you like long layovers, it's not that good of a trip. But if you like short, efficient layovers, like which I do, because right now I have some goals. I'm trying to do some stuff. So I go.
You got some dreams, son.
I got some dreams. So Seattle JFK, get in tonight, and it's like 11 and a half hour layover, and I go JFK Seattle, and then Seattle Spokane. And then layover for probably about 15 hours, which is not bad. It's a good trip. And then you go Spokane, Seattle. Oh. That's it, just one leg. But I picked up another turn outside of that. Yeah, at the end of it. So it's called a base turn. So you can work a certain amount of hours and you can do certain things to your schedule to make it worth more. So my 3 day used to be worth like 17 point something, and now it's worth like 23.
Wow.
Yeah, which is really good.
So 23 TFP or hours for 3 days.
For 3 days. That's really good because that's almost 8 hours a day, which is really good to do. Yeah, I mean, if you can get that.
So talking about TFPs, just to share it with people out there, what would you say the average TFP with the trips across the board are? What could someone expect from
5.
Each day? So 5 a day.
Like 5 a day is pretty normal. Yeah, I mean, even when you're on reserve, you get 5 a day.
Got it.
So like to get 7, 8, 9 trips, like I told you, the Detroit's work 10.2 or 10.4, and that's 1 day. So that's like 2 reserve days in 1 day. So
that's considered to be efficient.
Pretty efficient, yeah. Pretty efficient because you work less days and have more time off.
Interesting. So. Let's talk about positions on board. I know there's multiple flight attendants on each flight. and there's it looks, at least from passengers' perspective, I'm sure they could tell that not everyone are doing the same thing. Everyone have their own thing. How do positions work? And I'm sure, again, this is something you learned only after joining the airline.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So talk about positions on board. How do you get them? How do you pick and choose what the differences are, and how does all that work?
Okay, so there's 4 positions on most of the aircrafts. We used to have 3 on some of them, but they got rid of those combis.
Okay.
So there's 4. So there on every aircraft there's A, B, C, and D position. So A is the pretty much head of the cabin, and they're the ones that make a lot of the decisions when it comes to the cabin. Obviously, the captain is the head of the aircraft.
In charge.
But, yeah, in charge. He's in charge. But the A is the one that's pretty much in charge of the main cabin for the most part, and ends up doing a lot of the paperwork and stuff like that. And they're the ones that handle first class. They're the ones that do all the announcements mainly. And then the B is the one that does the food on the carts. So they're the ones that set up the food and they get everything going, and then they sell the food, and they also check equipment just as well as the A. So everybody has like pretty much equal duties when it comes to checking equipment on the aircraft now. So except for the D doesn't do very much. D does nothing. So the D just sits there and looks pretty.
Does the D stand for D does nothing?
Pretty much, exactly. Which is why I bid for D. I just play it. No. I like all positions. Okay. And then the C is the beverage person. So they're the ones that set up the carts in the back. They're the ones that do all the, serving the drinks and stuff like that. So, and then also but everybody works together. You know what I mean? And everybody helps each other out. I mean, it's good to be a team player when it comes.
So it all comes together.
Oh yeah. So it all comes together. Everybody gets everything done. So, because a lot of times you have a busy flight, like a 2-hour flight to LA is crazy sometimes, you know what I mean? Especially a full flight. So you're trying to work together, trying to help each other out. So the D will actually work harder sometimes than the B or the C, because the D is doing a lot of everything. They help out with the beverages, they help out with garbage, they help out with, there's movie players on board, they help out with those. So the D does a lot. So plus they have to do first class towels, hot towels, which I love. So, but for the most part, to each their own. When you're picking up trips or when you assign trips, you could either bid for certain positions. So if you really like to be first class, you could bid for only A position trips. If you're senior enough, you could actually hold it, which I can. So I know it's pretty amazing. One month I got all A position.
Wow!
Because I bid for it. Yeah, just to try it out. So and then you could bid for certain, like I said, B position if you like that, or C or whatever you want. Or you can even do certain trips. Like I want this trip, B position.
Huh.
So, and if you're senior enough, you can get it. So
positions,
that's why seniority is everything.
Even with positions.
Yes, because there's certain senior mamas that only bid A, or they hate A. So like the number one, the top 10, one of them, she only does A.
Just A.
Just A. That's all she does. Because she's been doing it for 30 years. So she's so comfortable with doing it, and she loves it. That's why she only bids it. And then some people did it for 10 years, and then they got tired of it, so now they're only C, or so everybody teaches their own.
And that's the cool thing about the job.
Oh my God, yeah,
it's
so
different
cool.
positions.
Yeah. And then when you do pick up, you can pick up I don't want to be D that day, so I don't have to pick that trip up. I can pick up whatever I want,
Interesting.
So it's really cool because people post their trips, and you have to see what position it is.
So for people out there who might not know, within each flight, there's 4 flight attendants, but their jobs all look different.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, big time. When you're sitting there on the aircraft and you're just staring at, looking around, looking at the flight attendants, and they're all moving around, and who's that? You can't really tell. It's really hard to see what goes on behind the scenes. You know what I mean? Each one has their own specific, where they're supposed to be, where they're supposed to do their demos. The demo is where they do the safety demonstration with the life jacket and all that kind of stuff. So each one has a certain position that they have to be in and stand and do that. So a lot of times you really don't know what's going on. You're like, wow, where they, there was all these flight attendants. What are they doing? They're just walking around.
Interesting, but they all have a position.
They all have a purpose and a position.
And they all know where they have a jump seat to sit on, and they have their duties, assignments. Michael, I'm curious, what are some, in 4 years of doing this, we all have our top most frequently asked questions. What are your most frequently asked questions from passengers about your job on the plane that you could think of? 1 or 2, or what do some people... I know one of the most famous ones is this your usual route when I talk to flight attendants?
Oh my God, yeah.
People ask these questions. Are there repeated questions that you get, or...
Do you guys have Dr. Pepper? Did you look at the menu? No, we don't have Dr. Pepper. We have Diet Coke or Coke products, especially if you're the C or if you're the B. well, can I get a Coke? I'm like, I'm just serving food. The drinks are on their way. Don't worry.
Coming up.
Yeah.
It's definitely different than a bar on the ground.
Yes, because you see it and you're like, I want drinks, So it's like, it's kind of funny. But I guess one of the requests are people ask me like, are you gonna be here tomorrow on my flight tomorrow? I'm like,
so people flying out somewhere say, are you gonna be on my flight?
Yes.
As if you're the only flight attendant
yes.
at
I'm
the
like,
airline.
yeah, I'll see you next week. Like, it's like, seriously though, like I had one lady the other day, she was like, all right, I'll see you next week. I hope you're on my flight. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll be on your flight.
I'm following you.
Yeah, I'm following you.
I'll be on all your flights this year.
But it's funny because there's some flight attendants that have been here a long time that only fly Ontario turns Monday through Thursday.
Oh.
So they do see the same people. Like I did one time when I was on reserve, I got called out for an Ontario turn. And a couple of the guys that were on the flight, they knew almost everybody on the plane.
Because they do it.
Yeah, they do it constantly, so often. And all the people that fly back and forth between Ontario and Seattle were business people.
Wow.
So they saw a lot of the same people. Because that's like 40 or 50 golds on that flight.
Interesting.
Yeah. So certain routes have more of a, reoccurring passenger.
Fascinating.
So you actually can get to know people, you know what I mean? And like see them. But that, for the most part, like people that have been here 4 years don't really get that. So it's kind of funny, like when people ask me, "Oh, can I see you next week? Will you be on my flight?" Yeah, sure, I'll be on your flight.
That's interesting. But then on the flip side of things, many times I'm sure it happened to you. You could fly to a city on the East Coast, spend 24 hours, and then on the flight back the next day, you got two people who flew out with you the previous day, and they spent 24 hours as well for business.
Oh yeah, exactly. That does happen. I just saw you about yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So there's that, and then also you probably had this too, where you fly there and then you fly back, and they're on the same flight there and back. Because they're getting miles.
And you're talking without even staying at the just
like a
out
turn,
and back,
like a turn. Like a turn. Like I've done that, and I had one guy. This is crazy. I had one guy is like a span of maybe 5 days. Okay, I had him on 4 flights because he was like following me. I was like, dude, I just saw you yesterday going to Boston and coming back, and now you're going to JFK. He's like, yeah, I'm just getting my miles.
Oh my God.
I get them at the beginning of the year, so I have gold status next year. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
Because like these guys, they really want to be gold. You know what I mean? Like their goal is to be gold.
Wow. Let's talk a little bit about status on the plane. I know this has more to do with people, maybe passengers who are watching this, but maybe for a flight attendant, what's the extra treatment that we provide from a flight attendant's perspective to gold, 75K, and million milers, as far as what they get and how does that work?
So first and foremost, I treat everybody like a gold.
It's a good answer, sir.
Yes, I do. You are a gold. You are a gold. You are a gold. So I try to give special attention to everybody because I think everybody deserves it. So, but the people that have worked for it, that become gold, they actually do get a little bit extra treatment. They get pre-board. They get the pre-board, so they get to get their bags up there early. They can put both their bags or whatever, as many bags as they want. They
could go up there themselves.
Exactly. So they get that. Plus, they can get upgraded to first class a lot. And they get upgraded to premium class, which is a new section in the aircraft. So it's from row 6 to row 10, where they get complimentary drinks, up to 2 drinks per cart. So say we do, like from Seattle to JFK, we do 3 carts. So that's up to 6 drinks.
6 drinks.
That's a lot, especially when you're in the air. Excuse me. So especially when you're in the air, that's a lot of drinks. You know what I mean? Because it's like drinking 1 shot is like drinking double on the ground.
At altitude.
Yes. So 6 drinks is like 12 shots in the air. So it's like once you hit the ground, you're like, oh, I'm a little. So they get that. They get upgraded a lot to premium class. They get complimentary chocolates, these little chocolate bars that we have from Seattle's Best, and then they also get what else do they get? Million Milers get free food.
Million Milers get free food.
Yeah,
okay.
and they get free movie players if we have movie players available, and 75Ks get free movie players too as well.
So from a flight attendant's perspective, it sounds like there's some things on board for us to kind of pay attention to and look out for and go, is this person a gold? Is this person not a gold?
We get like a list.
We get a list and you kind of work with that. And you get used to it. I mean, it might sound like a lot of thinking for someone who's never done it, but you get used to it. It's just part of the job.
It's like we have this like amazing IMD thing on our, it's like we get a phone, pretty much from the company. So it has everything we need, pretty much has like, a list of all the passengers and which one's gold, which one's not.
Got it. So you have all that information.
Yeah.
Michael, 4 years in, how would you describe your lifestyle as a flight attendant to anyone, to someone out there who's curious? How would you best describe this life you've been living for 4 years? What do you think is the most fitting way of putting it?
Like from an outside perspective, like, wow, that's pretty awesome. He's living a pretty good life.
And from your perspective?
That's pretty awesome.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like, I love it. I mean, like I do work a lot. So, but like to me, like that gives me energy and makes me feel alive. You know what I mean? So I don't mind working a lot. So some people think I'm crazy, but that's okay. Let them think what they want. But for the most part, like it's so awesome. Like I've traveled to like 10 different countries in the last 4 years. I've taken my daughters to Hawaii a couple times, to San Diego, to Disney World. It's so awesome, so amazing. Because when you look at the benefits are...
They far exceed.
Oh, far exceed. Like even if you make like $50,000 a year, but with all the extra benefits, it's like you make $100,000. You know what I mean? With all the extra stuff that you can get. You know what I mean? It's so awesome. You know, because like flying with kids is really expensive.
Interesting, and you get that for free. So let's talk about flight benefits.
Yeah.
So I know many people join the airline industry in general
for the benefits,
flight benefits,
and insurance,
So what does flight benefits mean? What does that look like in terms of when it comes down to it? What's flight benefits?
So pretty much you really don't have to work to get the flight benefits either. Once you get the job, you could drop all your trips, or you could not work as much, or whatever, and still get flight benefits.
So once you're an airline employee.
Yeah, so a lot of times that's why they try to get the job. Like these people they've already retired from the previous job, so they try to get on with the airline just to get the benefits.
To go flying all around the world.
Yeah, exactly. And then if they need insurance, they have to fly a certain amount a year or whatever, but it's not very much. So there's that. The benefits, okay, the flight benefits are, so you pretty much walk up to the counter and get a ticket. It's so awesome. Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, that's it. And you go on your phone and just like list and like, where do I want to go today? So anywhere we fly, we get to go for free. And pretty much anywhere in the United States, you can go for free. Anywhere. So there's a couple of spots you have to pay like $20 or $50 or whatever. Like I just went to Alaska to Kenai to go fishing for my birthday, and it was like $22 to go from Anchorage to Kenai.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and like the normal person pays like $200 or
$22.
$22.
So if you take advantage of the things
that
you could take advantage of, you're saving a lot of money.
Oh my God, tons of money. Plus, you're adding so much value to your life by having these experiences, you know?
Just getting out there.
Yeah, just getting out there. Like I I just flew with this guy. He's been here like 30 something years, and he's never gone anywhere. Anywhere. I'm like, dude, you got to go somewhere. He's like, I know, we're homebodies, me and my wife. I'm like, you want to go with me? Come with me. Come on. Let's go to Germany. So, because I'm going to Germany at the end of the month. So it's like, you know, it's like, come on, you got to use the benefits. Like take as much out of this job as you can, because you become a better person.
So you are living proof. If someone out there's thinking, there's all these great benefits, but after like 4 days of working on a plane, the last thing I want to do is get on a plane and travel. You're living proof that it might not be the case.
No, yeah,
you're into it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. You know what I mean? If you're into traveling, or you're like, you have an adventurous mindset, or you want to explore the world, like this is the best job. The benefits, man, like, it's so amazing. Like just get on a plane. Like I can go to Paris for lunch if I wanted to. Like seriously, you could. Like you could just go up to the counter, Delta.
Fly there.
Delta, we just say, list me for the flight to Paris. And if they got seats available, you're going to Paris.
So if there's an open seat, you get on.
If you're open seat, and you get upgraded to first class too. I haven't done it yet.
Right.
I haven't been that lucky, but one day I will.
Right. And that's another interesting thing, because when the airline, hypothetically, if someone, correct me if I'm wrong, if there's an airplane leaving, there's an open seat in first class, and say all the elite members have been upgraded and taken care of, or they're not there.
Yeah.
And agents are looking to upgrade people, they will actually upgrade non-revenue airline crew, non-rev people prior to upgrading a normal paying passenger. So your chances as a non-rev passenger is higher to get in first class than a paying passenger.
Oh yeah, exactly. Even like we get these things called positive space tickets every year if we win the JD Power. And even that you can't get upgraded like to first class.
Because you're like a paying passenger.
You're like a paying passenger. So you cannot, like we got upgraded to premium class. You can't get upgraded to first class. So there might be 1 or 2 seats, but they're going to give that to non-revs before they're going to give it to you.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's actually pretty awesome being a non-rev sometimes. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I haven't had too many troubles where I missed the aircraft or anything that. I've gotten pretty lucky where I've been on, if I list for it, I get on it, So, but there's some stories I've heard, but for the most part, like you can get on almost every aircraft because there's usually one seat available. If not, someone's not going to show up, And also, as being a flight attendant, we can jump seat on our own metal too as well.
Interesting.
So like if I wanted to go somewhere really bad and there's no seats available, I can still get there by being on the jump seat. So as a flight attendant, which is a huge benefit because some of the other people that work with the airline, they don't have that. So like CSAs, ground crew,
occupy that jump seat.
Yeah, they can't. So they have to have a seat. So we're like, we got one step above them. You know what I mean? So that's so awesome. Because I've had, just like yesterday, I came back from, or I went to, where did I go yesterday? To Burbank, and we had a jump seater on board. And same thing, she was like, "Oh, thank you for the jump seat." You know what I mean? It's so.
And without that, she wouldn't get on.
Oh my God, yeah.
Seats were full.
Oh yeah, completely full flight.
Interesting.
So it definitely pays for itself. The benefits. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Let's. We're almost out of time. We have a few more minutes left. Let's talk about. I hear that this job is one of the most flexible jobs on the planet. Michael, why do you think, or what do you think makes this job so flexible?
So just like being able to move your schedule around and being able to, like they call it down trade. So you have a 4-day trip and you could down trade to like a 3-day or a 2-day if there's trips available to down trade to. So during the summertime, there's a lot of flexibility because a lot of people, there's a lot of trips in there, a lot of trips to pick up, a lot of trips to down trade to. In the wintertime, the trips are a little more scarce, so it's a little bit harder, but the days are more open. So you could actually drop some trips too, because we're allowed to drop a certain amount of trips a month, so which is pretty awesome. So if I really wanted to, I don't really have to work very much.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? So like if I wanted to be a stay-home dad, or if I wanted to be, if I wanted to have another career, you know what I mean? If I wanted to become a real estate agent, or because there's a lot of flight attendants that have part-time or other jobs. Like I just flew with one that had, she's a hairstylist.
Oh.
So she does that 3 days a week, and then she does flying 2 or 3 days a week. So it's like, yeah, so you have the flexibility to do almost whatever you want. It's so amazing. Like I'm a massage therapist still. So I still have private clients. I go to their house, and then I still work at the airport. Not very much anymore because I make more money doing this.
Right.
But I still do work it like once every couple months.
So it sounds like this is the perfect job for someone to have another job on the side with.
Oh yeah. Except in the beginning. In the beginning, it's a little bit harder because you're like on reserve and you're like more. But once you become a line holder, your world opens up.
So someone out there is currently, they do nails.
Yeah.
And they love doing nails. Yeah. And they don't want to let go of that. You're saying it's possible to juggle the two, but maybe give it a year or two when you first start.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's something for someone else.
Give it a year or two, but if you put in that time, it's going to pay off. Like they always like when you start in the beginning, they always say, "Oh, it's going to get better," and it does. It just keeps getting better and better. Not only financially, but your schedule wise too, flexibility.
Interesting.
So, and it's I mean, like I said, if I really wanted to, I don't have to work. I mean, I could drop or trade most of my trips down to work.
So it's almost like being self-employed.
Pretty much.
In a sense that you literally have control over your schedule.
Yeah, but you get all these extra benefits on top of it.
Got it. Cool. Michael, what are some necessary skills that you think 4 years in that if someone out there doesn't have, they should start thinking of getting, and if they do have it, they should actually apply because it's a great job to exercise those skills. What are some skills you think are vital for being a good flight attendant?
Communication is big. Communication, teamwork. So if you're involved, or if you've done sports in the past, or if you've been involved in like sales, like team sales or something like that, so you're a team player. So if not, go get a sales job. Plus that builds customer service too as well. And then customer service is huge, so big. So if you don't have that experience, you got to go get it somewhere. Like, so say you've almost every job is customer service if you think about it.
Right.
But there are some jobs that are not exposed to it as much. But I would say like definitely being a waitress or being bartender, or in the like sales industry or something like that is definitely a good start to becoming a flight attendant because you already have a lot of the skills that you need, which are, like I said, communication, team building, sales is part of it too. If you want to do the other parts of the aircraft.
Absolutely.
Visas. So
you don't have to though. You don't
have to. You don't have to. You don't have to sell anything if you don't want to. So
you could just sell cheese plates if you want.
Yes, which I'm good at doing that too. Who wants cheese plates? I got cheese plates. So it's funny. That's the thing is like when you're doing this, like when you're working so much, you gotta make it fun.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not a boring person, and it's like, and you worked with me. You know what I mean? It's like
it's
you gotta have fun. You can't just be like, what do you want? You know what I mean? You gotta like smile and be happy, and that's a big skill too. Is like being like a happy person. You know what I mean? Like I think it's harder than it sounds. Like some people,
not just for the passengers, but even for your fellow crew members.
Yes, and you know what I mean, just trying to be positive and stay on the positive outlook on life, that's a big plus too. So one thing I would recommend is maybe reading some self-help books, maybe, or something like that, like some personal development books.
Oh,
like a good one.
Look at you getting deep on the job.
I'm serious, man. A really good one is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Dude,
that's a really good book to read.
Awesome.
I've read that a couple of times, and then also there's there's so many books out there, but you can pick and choose. You can find one that focuses just on sales, or one that focuses on building up communication skills. So yeah, that's definitely something to look into.
I like that. Any job misconceptions you found to be false after you started, that you thought about the job in your head?
My job. Let me see.
Any things you found out and you went, oh, this is not how I thought it would be, for good or for bad?
Well, the safety thing is huge. I did not think it was that much. I thought it was more about service. You know what I mean? Like most people, when you're on the outside, when you're a passenger, you just see them serving. That's all. You see them serving. You see them do a little bit of a demo. You know what I mean? Like a safety demo. But when you go through training, oh my God, it's like so much. I mean, so much safety, and learning about aircrafts and learning about how to put on a life jacket, how to swim with the life jacket, how to swim and save somebody with the life jacket on. I mean, there's all kinds of things that go into it that I did not expect. And I just assumed you just have to have some kind of service background, you know what I mean? Or, bartending or waitressing or something like that. But no, it's way more than that, way more.
Wow.
So that was a big misconception of mine. So,
interesting.
Which blew me away. And then also another thing is they've changed the industry so much in the last 30 years, where they used to have to actually weigh you every week.
Huh.
Yeah, so they don't do that anymore. I know. So that I had this perception that all flight attendants were small, because there are some airlines that still do that, but
whether they do it or not.
Yeah.
A lot of them are I didn't see someone who weighs more than 100 pounds.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So that was a big misconception. You thought they always had to be young and beautiful, which is not true. I mean, you could be
be old and ugly.
You could be old and ugly. You could be all. I swear.
We don't have any old and
no,
ugly
of course
people.
not.
At least not at Alaska.
No. So, but there's no discrimination when it comes to anything. You know what I mean? Type, sizes, height. They used to have a height cutoff. Now they don't.
Really?
Yes.
So you don't have to reach that thing anymore?
No, they don't do that. They don't do that. No. Yeah. There's a guy that works at 7 feet tall, dude. Have you, Hampton? Yeah, he's 7 feet tall. So the height doesn't matter, and I've met women that were shorter.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So they cut that out too. So pretty much it's open to anybody.
It's open now, which is awesome information, because it really reaches such a broad spectrum of people.
Oh yeah, big time. Because before that they were restricting. Okay, you can only be this height, this weight, but now it's open for all. So that's why the interviews have gone from 125 people to 200, 250 people.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so it's a lot more competitive, but they opened it up to a lot more people. You know what I mean?
So in the name of wrapping things up, let's cover real quick. I know there's a concept of recurrent training, annual training. What's that? What could one expect once they complete initial, they pass probation, now they're a flight attendant? You come back for recurrent each year. What does that consist of?
So it's pretty much just continuing education. So that's how the way I look at it, because I'm being a massage therapist, I have to have continuing education every year and a certain amount of hours. So that's pretty much, any area of a profession that needs to have what am I trying to say? Just to keep you up to date. Keep you up to date on what's going on with current, issues and current things. That's what recurrent's for.
Got it.
So recurrent is to keep you up to date, make sure you know all your commands, all your safety duties still. Make sure you're able to arm and disarm a door and open a door.
Just to keep people on the same page.
Yeah, keep people on the same page and make sure you still know your information. Because if you take it, 30 years ago, you're not going to remember any of it. You know what I mean? Unless you actually do it. You know what I mean?
It changes.
Yeah, and it changes constantly. They're constantly changing, how they open the door or how they, disarm a door, correct, there's constant changes. So you got to keep up to date, and recurrent's a good place to do that.
And is it 1 day a year?
Just 1 day a year.
Easy.
Yep, 6 hours or 8 hours.
So it shouldn't be something that should scare people away.
No, not at all.
Got it.
It's pretty awesome. It's
pretty
fun.
awesome.
Because you get to kind of get back with your classmates. And hey, this year in recurrent, I have it October something. I have my best friend, my roommate, And then I have like 6 other classmates.
Wow.
So it's going to be like a class reunion. It's going to be so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
and then
awesome.
this year we do have to do the transition training.
Oh.
Which is because we just bought Virgin America a couple years ago. So we're converting, we're transitioning to the Airbus, and we don't have any Airbus aircrafts with Alaska. So we have to go through a 2-day training, which is paid for. So we go through that, and then we learn about the Airbus and learn their safety stuff too. So
cool.
Yeah.
Michael, last question.
What's that? I'm ready. Throw it at me.
If there's one thing you could change about your industry, what would it be?
One thing. My uniform.
You would?
Yes, I can't wait.
That's the first.
I can't wait for the brown shoes.
First one who answered my uniform. Interesting.
Yeah.
So you want to...
I can't wait for a new uniform because we've been in the same uniform for 4 years. I have. So it's kind of I can't wait.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's nice to have change. I like change. So I don't mind, and people sometimes resist change because they get in the comfort zone.
But you're into it.
I'm into it. Yeah. Oh yeah. Change my uniform every year. I don't care. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I'm definitely ready for a new uniform. But what else? I think that's about it. So
that's one thing you would change.
Yeah, the uniform.
Cool, Michael. Thanks for coming on.
Oh yeah, man, it's awesome.